This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Hello, football fans, and welcome to the Onside Kick. My name is Ricky Widmer, and as always, I'm joined by the Mark Weber.
Dub them ease.
And a double as always, because I'm always joined by the one, the only, Brandon Swanson.
Hey, hey, hey.
And you might be confused right now, as many of you may
What
be.
What podcast am I listening to?
Am I listening to the Primetime Podcast? Am I listening to the Onside Kick? We're doing
It's a
both
draft
tonight.
content podcast because we're combining both worlds. Worlds collide here.
I mean, Brandon thought he was going to get away from the draft yesterday, but you can't do it, buddy. We're talking all draft, all day, every day, right here on the Onside Kick.
I'm thinking listeners are probably so excited to listen to the trio of idiots tonight instead of just two people talking. So I'm sure they're thrilled to be able to listen to that, but also thrilled that we will not be talking about the fucking draft because that shit is horrible.
No, we can't do that to Brandon. The whole reason why Brandon's on the Onside Kick tonight is yesterday for the Primetime Podcast, he said, Ricky, if we're talking draft, I'm not showing up. And guys, I called him to it. I said, no, we're talking draft, and he did not show up. So that's why he is here today. We're going to be talking some Josh Norman, really, the fucking Redskins. And then we're also going to talk about the Sam Bradford trade or trade that might be coming, Tom Brady suspension, and then the future again of Johnny Manziel. But guys, we got to start with this Josh Norman signing, $75 million, 5 years. And I really, the Redskins? I still can't believe that he went to the fucking Redskins.
It does blow my mind as well. Yeah, the Redskins are kind of on the uptick from this season, but at 9-7, you know, it's not like it's anything amazingly impressive. The quarterback situation was not good. Kirk Cousins has been overpaid. They don't have the best. I mean, the wide receivers are good, but they're not great. They have a quarterback out there who kind of was a little bit fluky. I definitely expect to, quote unquote, sophomore slump because he's never had an actual season to play. I mean, the guy had 3 years to try and win the job from RG3, who got booted over to Cleveland, of all places, and he could never do it. I don't see Super Bowl ready for this team or even Super Bowl future for this team, especially for someone like Josh Norman, who was just there. Josh Norman could have gone anywhere in the world, and he chose the Redskins.
Well, I mean, the main three that people are talking about is, okay, it was the Redskins, the Saints, and then the Niners. And then the day he made the decision, it was actually, okay, it's down to the Redskins and the Saints. And to me, I was all ready for him to go to the Saints because you think about it. The Saints really need a corner. It would change, like, as soon as it's like Josh Norman to the Saints, I would have been typing up another mock draft. Like, what the fuck? Can't people keep things normal to where I don't have to do another mock draft because things would change? Mm-hmm. Also, you get to play the Panthers twice a year, get a little revenge for that team that pulled that tender from you, and you get to play with Drew Brees.
I think that the move is, it makes no sense. That's what I think. I think if you're going to make a move, go to a place that's going to make sense. I think that with the Saints, they're hurting so badly for anyone to play defense. They would call up the three of us to do it at this point.
I'd play for free, Jamarcus Russell style.
No, you wouldn't. I know you would not do that. But
nah, I got to put food on the table.
You do, for you and your entire family.
Yeah, for my stomachs. All 14 of them.
Oh, come on, man. And all 13 and a half. But, guys, I really think that Washington, they well overpaid for this guy. 5 years, $75 million. Just because you paid that much money for him does not mean that he's going to perform what he did last year. He's in the prime of his career right now, but I don't think you're going to get the same type of numbers that you got from him last year that the Panthers did. I don't think that Washington's going to get those this year or even the next 5 or how many he's with them. I really think that the Panthers are the losers in this one, though. I mean, they could still have him. Josh Norman could still be on there. Apparently, he went to sign the tender at the last minute, didn't go through, didn't work, whatever. Just really, it's a bogus scenario because, in my opinion, he should still be with the Carolina Panthers right now, playing on the franchise tag. I don't get this move on all parties.
Completely. I think that it seems like even though the Carolina Panthers have built this awesome team, this great defense, one of the best defenses, they make dumb decisions. Like, they're consistently making dumb decisions. It just happens that they've drafted really well. That's really what it's worked out for. They got rid of Cam Newton's safety. Well, the safety blanket's Greg Olsen, but they got rid of Steve Smith when he was the only wide receiver there. Calvin Benjamin gets injured, and they're suddenly going, oh, shit, we wish we would have Steve Smith still. And now they have this other star here who's being pushed out as well. I mean, that was a star on the offense who was a team leader. And that's a star on the defense who was a team leader, besides Luke Kuechly, who's obviously still there. Doesn't make sense in that standpoint.
Don't forget about Star Latuile, too.
Of course. The thing that kind of bothers me for the Redskins is this was a team that was looking like they were going in the right direction. But what do? They spend a shit ton of money on Norman. And now what are you going to do? Who else can you possibly bring to this team because you're going to dedicate so much money here? And then you're not going to be able to pay to improve the other parts of the team that really need it.
Well,
exactly.
I want to touch on something that, Brandon, you brought up. With the whole situation for Norman and the Panthers, the whole, few days before it was officially, he was going somewhere else, it was a bizarre story. I remember when it first broke that the Panthers were going to pull the tender and Josh Norman was a free agent. That next day, I was watching First Take, and Stephen A. is going on a Stephen A. type rant, just ranting and raving about how, nothing's wrong with Josh Norman. He didn't know what his agent was doing in that meeting. And if Josh Richardson, the owner of the Panthers, I'm blanking on his first name, if the owner had any respect and meant what he means with the whole family thing, he would call up Josh Norman and talk to him directly because Josh Norman wants to play in Carolina. Then it comes out a day later that maybe Josh Norman knew what his agent was doing, but then there was other people saying that he didn't. It was a just really confusing situation until the Panthers just said, and I don't know if this is 100% true, maybe they were just saying it to finalize the decision, but they said, yeah, we needed to make money. We needed to make room cap-wise, and we got rid of them. And it was just one of those things where I'm like, wow, this is really confusing. Usually it's for sure, player did this, team got mad because of that, boom, you're gone. It wasn't like that in this situation.
It doesn't make sense to me, too, from the Panthers standpoint. When you look at what got this team where it was, Cam Newton did great things, and this was one of the highest scoring. I think they were the highest scoring offense in the league. But the defense is really what put them in these great situations. Mm-hmm. Cam Newton makes dumb mistakes, and that's okay when you have a great defense. Rex Grossman played in a Super Bowl, guys. Dumb mistakes are forgivable when you have a great defense. So now you get rid of one of the best parts of that defense, which is already starting to kind of, lose some of those pieces. And Cam Newton's just going to be, his mistakes are not going to be forgivable anymore because you don't have a star like Norman here taking the ball back if you give the ball away or stealing the ball and giving your quarterback another chance to make it happen. Just doesn't make sense to me at all.
You don't just get rid of one of the best defensive pieces. You got rid of the heart and soul. You got rid of the heart and soul with it because when you're looking at that team, the Carolina Panthers, you look at both sides, you look at the offense, you look at the defense. Where's the energy coming from? It's not honestly, in my opinion, yeah, everyone's gonna be is talking about Cam Newton, dabbing all this bullshit that who knows what it is, why he does it, anything like that. Just takes the world by storm. No one knows what they're doing. But look at the defense. I mean, that's what kept that team going.
Look at the Giants game. That just heart and not really, that game was a little bit different, but that kind of attitude from that game on defense, where did it come from? Mm-hmm. Josh Norman. And one of the things, before I say this, Mark, I want to just mention, you are right, Carolina led the league in scoring 31.3 points per game, a total of 500 points scored last season. But some people are going out there and saying one of the main reasons why Norman chose the Redskins is who does he get to see now twice a year? His good old buddy, OBJ.
Yeah.
That could be one reason. Another reason why I would pick the Redskins, if I really had to think of a reason why, The Cowboys, yeah, you're getting Romo and Bryant back, but your defense sucks. You don't have Greg Hardy. Good. You don't need him. But really, Gregory and Lawrence, they're going to be suspended for the first part of this season. That pass rush ain't going to be there. Could put Dallas into a hole. The Eagles, we don't know how the fuck they're going to play. They just gave away the farm.
Neither do they.
They just gave away the farm, pissed off their number one quarterback just to get a rookie quarterback. And the Redskins are sitting there. Kirk Cousins at the helm, coming off of his best season. And they're a team that, to me, I mean, it's like, okay, if we can stop the Giants, maybe we can make it back to the playoffs.
I guess I just don't see necessarily. Maybe you guys, do, but I don't see the draw with Washington.
I don't either.
Washington,
it's not
to me,
sexy.
it's a very boring team. It doesn't necessarily need to be Dallas. I would not want to go to Dallas. There are too many stars, and they're not in the good sense. But it's blah. It's a blah team. Washington is very blah and boring to me.
It's not even really a team that, yes, they won their division. They squeaked into winning their division.
Didn't take much.
But they're not really a team that I do see as truly being on the upward trend.
No.
I see them as just being kind of the mediocre ground here. Honestly, it's Dallas and New York from this division, the bottom feeders from last year, who are going to be the good teams who are competing to win this one. Although we do always say NFC least is up for grabs every year.
It is. That's why we call it the NFC least.
But honestly, I am very, very, very high on the New York Giants next year. And the Dallas Cowboys are not as bad of a team once they have number 1 and number 2, of course, being Des Bryant and Tony Romo, healthy and playing. It's just, you go to a place where you're not going to get back to that Super Bowl.
You know who I really thought he was going to sign with? Maybe it's just because of where we live, but man, like once it was like the Panthers pulled the tender, there was a part of me that said, he's going to be a fucking Bear. Knowing my luck as a Vikings fan, Josh Norman is going to be in that kind of just that Bear blue with the C on his head, and I'm going to be like, great, they've got Tillman back.
Well, in all honesty, I thought about that for a very split second when I saw that. I'm thinking, okay, what have the Bears been doing this whole offseason? Trying to retool this defense. Could it have been something that maybe they thought about? Yeah, but are the Bears ever going to give someone a 5-year, $75 million contract?
Well, and I think that Ryan
Smart
Pace,
move not to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ryan Pace is a guy where he hasn't made that kind of decision for the Bears, and he's not going to. He's not going to give a guy, oh, you had a great season last year. Nobody knew Josh Norman's name before last season. I sure as hell didn't. And Ryan Pace isn't going to bet the farm or bet what they're building, especially on a Bears team that has you guys have the second easiest schedule this year. So that's why, okay, it's like, okay, now I can understand why Josh Norman didn't go to the Bears. But I mean, back to the Redskins, it's like, I kind of think of, remember the big deal they made when Deshaun Jackson came to the Redskins? How's that panned out? I mean, yeah, he's been all right, I guess.
I mean, he's their number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah.
He's their number 1 wide receiver, but would be a number 2 or 3 on any other team.
Yeah, but I mean, at this point, he's aging, and like Pierre Garçon. I mean, he was great when he was with the Colts. Now it's like, where are you, old man?
I think that with the Redskins, what they needed to do is they were probably told, their general manager, and Daniel Snyder was probably like, we need to make a splash because we're so boring. Because we're so dull, we need to make a splash. We need to get our fan base excited. I think that's what happens sometimes with some of these teams. They need to go out, they need to make a splash, they need to make something happen so the owner's happy, then the fans are happy, at least for a couple of weeks or, for a couple of months because, we got the big guy, we got the big name. Well, now he needs to go and produce, and will he go and produce? Who knows?
Plus, Kirk Cousins right now is getting the fans excited. This is just another way to go, look, we're here, we're ready. It's not the truth, but they're going to come out to their fans and say, we're ready to go. But I just want to take a moment to look at the actual schedule. For one reason, to see all the stars that Norman gets to go up against, but also to point out that this is not a Washington Redskins team that has a cakewalk schedule. This is a team that looks like they're probably going to be struggling to get to 500 or above 500.
Well, I mean, you look at the quarterbacks they got to play. Big Ben, Romo twice a year.
Look at the wide receivers he's going to go against. He's going to go against Dez. He's going to go against Antonio Brown.
A.J. Green.
A.J. Green. He's going to go up against Alshon Jeffrey. He's going, of course, OBJ twice a year. Tons of challenging guys to go up against. Even Jordy Nelson, he's going to have to go up against with Aaron Rodgers there. This is not going to be an easy team to get into the playoffs.
And I mean, the one thing, it's quarterbacks and wide receivers. I'm looking right through it. Like you said, Antonio Brown, then Dez and OBJ. Those are the first three wide receivers with Big Ben, Romo, and Elite Manning, or same Manning, equal Manning. I forgot what we call him here. Equal Manning in New York. You got to go up against Cam Newton on Monday Night Football in Week 15. The only easy game on the schedule I see for Josh Norman is Week 4,
which is not. I mean,
the Browns
obviously.
at home.
I don't want to discredit
those Browns wide receivers are dangerous.
They're great.
However,
he's obviously a competitor. He
though,
wants to play challenging teams. So I don't want to discredit that part, but it's just saying that it's not like this is the team that's going into the Super Bowl right now.
Watch, and this will be the team that we'll watch. We'll bash them here, and then I just got to, you know what? I'll just pick them to win the Super Bowl when we make our picks, and then kiss of death, they won't go anywhere. That's how it works.
Looking at the schedule, and this is really, really early to make a call like this, so people stop yelling at me already.
Don't make official. No. Don't make official record picks until after this weekend. I'm just saying,
like 6 to 8 wins is good for the Washington Redskins with this schedule, with the talented teams they have to go against if they were playing today.
Well, in the way I see it, I know, Brandon, you hate the draft, so kind of plug your ears for 2 seconds. I'm going to add a receiver onto the schedule because there's 2 teams that are on this schedule that could draft this guy, either the Lions or the Giants. There's a chance Laquan Treadwell could be added to this schedule.
For sure.
And it's like, okay, boom. Now on top of all these wide receivers, you have to go ahead and play the number 1 rookie from this draft class wide receiver-wise.
Yeah. So obviously he wants to. He's not going to shy away from competition. That's I mean that's a fact there. That's not what I'm trying to get at. I'm just trying to get at that this was not the team to pick.
No, it wasn't.
I mean, you picked the right team instead of the 49ers, that's for sure. But I think the Saints would have been a better choice. I even think if you were willing to take less money, there's a lot of better teams you could have gone and played for.
Well, we'll start with you, Mark, and this I will wrap it up. If you were Josh Norman, who would you pick? We'll go Mark, Brandon, then back to me before we go into the Bradford stuff.
All right, I want to do 2 things. 1, I'm going to pick a homer pick, and then 2, I'm going to pick a more realistic, not real pick. But the Chicago Bears would be a good pick, obviously, because Fuller's not the guy. Fuller automatically gets bumped back to cornerback 2 if you get there. You get to play some good teams. You get to play on a team that's rising up a little bit, and you get to be part of the revitalization effort. Whether that's going to be considered Trevathan's team or your team, essentially, at that point, who knows? But the one I would have really loved to see, I would love to see him play opposite Patrick Peterson. How amazing would that have been? They need a cornerback. They need a cornerback pretty badly. There's a big hole there. Cromartie's not there anymore. So I think that just would have been great. That would have been the new, LOB. That would have been the new Carolina Panthers.
What if he went and played for the LOB? I know Cap Room probably wouldn't allow him to, but man, that would have been something.
It would have been terrifying.
What about you, Brandon?
I would have said, my number 1 is I would have said stay with the Panthers. I would have said stay with the Panthers because they were very good last year, and that was with a wide receiver core that was hurt. And, I mean, Ted Ginn was your number 1 guy. Ted Ginn was your number 1 receiver.
Yeah.
You get Kelvin Benjamin back. You still have a strong defense. You're the anchor of that defense if you stay, and you're getting, I mean, how much money was he getting from what he have been getting from the franchise tag? I mean, a lot of money because the franchise tag doesn't come with, $5 million. So I would have said stay there, or, he probably could have gone to the Houston Texans. They're all about throwing out lots of money, especially this offseason.
They just got Brock to cock-a-doodle-doo.
But I'm saying that would have been another great name on a defense that already had JJ.
But the one thing I do want to say about your staying with the Panthers, there is an article I'm looking at right now on ESPN where Josh Norman did try to stay with the Panthers, and at the last minute tried to either sign the franchise tag or work out a 1-year deal. And Norman said that the Panthers GM, Dave Gettleman, said that, hey, it's too late. And he blamed the former agent. The exact quote from Norman was, My agent called them up and said if they wanted to do something like a 1-year market value deal, he wanted to come back. They said they weren't willing to, so we had to do what we had to do. My hands were tied in the whole thing.
Yeah.
To me, there's one team you should have went to, and that's the Chicago Bears. Because like Mark said, you could be a part of the revitalize, just the building of this defense. I hate to say it because I'm a Vikings fan and I want to win the division and go back to the playoffs, but our division's going to be black and blue all year. It's going to be between the Bears, the Vikings, and the Packers. Sorry, Lions, you get left out, but we're going to beat the crap out of each other this year.
But again, you say the Bears, but again, yeah, it'd be great to see him go there. You know, as a Bears fan, it'd be great to see him go there. But if he was getting $5 million, 5 years, $75 million from the Redskins, the Bears will not.
Oh, he would
offer
have
that
not
contract.
take that big of a deal.
I know the
but I
Bears
don't.
wouldn't have gave
but at
him
this
that
point,
much
I don't even
money.
know. I don't know if he would have gone for anything less.
Yeah,
because he thinks he's the best.
I'm just saying that, like, I would have even taken less money to play in Chicago because of what John Fox is doing in Chicago. The guys that they're bringing
the guy
in,
typically goes to a Super Bowl in his second year. I'm just saying.
I mean, you've been
He's
saying
100% so far.
It freaks me out because I still want my Vikings to do well and I want to make the playoffs. Like I said, I've said it before. I'm going to say it now after seeing the schedules again. I know that the official picks for me won't come until after the draft, but I feel very strongly that we're going to see 3 playoff teams from the North this year.
I just want to say one thing about the Panthers before we put this to bed.
Okay.
They were the clear favorites to go to the Super Bowl, like the early favorites. Losing Josh Norman makes it question mark. Now who's going to be that new favorite? There is not a clear-cut favorite anymore.
That whole division is up for grabs now.
I don't know. I wouldn't say the whole division's up for grabs.
Well, to me, it's which
But
other
the NFC is.
It's which other team in that division, Atlanta, New Orleans, Tampa, is going to make that next step now to make sure they can overtake the Panthers. It might not happen, but it could.
I think that if you're talking about a favorite, possibly, maybe the Arizona Cardinals. You know, they didn't do well when they played the Panthers last year. I mean, smoked. But
Palmer's last ride.
I think the Cardinals, that offense, explosive. David Johnson, if he plays how he played towards the end of the season, the guy's a beast. Very good, lots of talent there, and they do have a very good defense. So I think that the Arizona Cardinals could be, especially if you're talking just the NFC, I would definitely say the Cardinals. Overall, I think the Cardinals still could be, maybe not a clear favorite right now, but a favorite nonetheless.